Sorry. You're near the end, so just people ahead of you, you're going to speak about the series you're speaking about, so you won't be the first one. But we do that. We do presentations. We give plaques to the little kids at Edgewood, two of them, and then write individual speakers. It includes one. I just want to get I understand. Yeah. I think where these kids have a fun that's my language, because the whole thing is you talk to me because you're racist, and I'll talk about it like two things. Talk created like a environment. Basically, like to pray. because I live with that every, it's just not. I'm good. How are you? Yeah. Hi, how are you?
Huh? All the teachers are here to tell us about how crappy discipline is.
I was planning on doing it first.
After we get this.
I know.
We're like noon.
No, well, he'll take it out. Mike will take it out.
Yeah, we're fine.
I'm sure coming to this is going to help it a lot. Stealing his kid. Here, I'll tell you what. You can have mine back. I'll replace that.
Your forte.
I call that export. He was just one area.
Well, we have to check.
What are they going to do? Piss you off?
And there's no there's foot pads on it. You can see nothing later on.
It was all settled.
Good evening. The hour of 7 o'clock having arrived and passed. Apologies for the delay. I now call to order the legislative meeting for the month of November 2017 for the Woodland Hills School Board. Ms. Pugh, will you call the roll?
Ms. Ava Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Fred Kuhn?
Here.
Mr. Jeff Hanchett?
Here.
Dr. Jeff Hildebrand?
Here.
Mr. Robert Tomasic?
Present.
Ms. Sade Sillickson?
Present.
Mr. David Graves?
Here.
Mr. Mike Belmont?
Here.
Ms. Jamie Glasser?
Present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We'll move on to accepting the minutes from last month. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from the agenda and legislative meetings?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
I'm going to send it in.
Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Fred Kuhn.
Mr. Kuhn.
Kuhn.
Get them in.
All right.
Please call for the vote.
Second everything, man.
I'm going to just send it in a second.
Okay. How do I check my network connection? Why? Doesn't actually may have been lost.
Did they join the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Click on something. Just click on one of the
Gotta
items.
figure this thing out yet.
On his last meeting.
Okay, then. Okay,
Took him a while.
Okay. The motion passes unanimously.
next to the house.
We did have an executive session this evening to discuss personnel matters. There was no legal discussion tonight. Any announcements, Mr. Johnson?
I do not have any announcements at this time, Ms. Glasser.
Okay, any announcements from anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to student speakers. I see we have our student speakers this evening. Thank you for being here.
Don't let them start all over again.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is AJ Andrew Presser George. I am a senior here at Woodland Hills High School, and tonight I have brought with me Jenna Yezevich and Vicey Simpson. We are all on the student council and 12th grade class officers, as I serve as president. Jenna is my secretary, and Vicey is my treasurer. I'm sorry, I got that backwards. Jenna is my treasurer and vice. Okay, so tonight we brought to you guys just what's going on here at Woodland Hills High School. So lately, our winter sports are kicking off. Sign-ups are over and done with, and we are beginning our transition. The teams are creating their meetings and starting their practices. And so far, from what I hear and what I experience with the teams I'm on, rifle team and everything's on to a great start. Also, student leadership, they are teaming up with the 9th grade civics classes. They're going down to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, and they are presenting presentations on citizenship, and they were doing that in their classes this December.
Our FBLA announced that they are hosting our snowball dance on January 27th of 2018. Also, our student council is preparing for an exciting pep rally for our winter sports, along with our traditional door decorating contest in December for the holidays.
Student leadership is also having a food drive during November to give to the Angel Place, which is a charity. Also, senior class officers are spreading the word about senior packages that includes a shirt, a senior dinner dance ticket, and a yearbook for a great price.
So, Mr. Johnson, Ms. Lentz, I've been a student speaker here for 2 years now, and it's my job to report to you guys the student life that goes on in our school. And also being part of student council all my years in high school and being the senior class president this year, I hold not only the obligation but the duty to represent the student body and how they feel about their lives here at Woodland Hills High School. And frankly, this year and especially this month, student life here has been severely impacted due to the degrading climate of our school. And to describe this climate to you guys, I want to walk you through a day in the life of a Woodland Hills student. And this all starts before 7 a.m. That's before our first bell. We walk through the doors and get into our metal detector lines, our long lines, and students are pushing their way through, cutting other students, and not listening to any orders from any security guards or any teachers. Then we move on to the hallways during the class switches, which entails students screaming, running, shoving through the halls, blatantly disregarding any order that any teacher, security guard, or principal gives them, whilst almost certainly profanely talking back to them in the process. Not to mention the fact that at any moment in time, utter mayhem could fester in the halls, with instantly with fighting and ultimately the riots that occur in conjunction with it. Lunchtime, which should feel like a break from the rest of the day, proves to be the worst of it all, as you can almost count on chaos to break through at any instant. And lastly, dismissal, going along with the ongoing theme here, is utter chaos and mayhem, as students push and shove the other students off the sidewalk trying to find their buses. So, this all begs the question, what should be done about it? Because, after all, there's no use of bringing up problems if you don't have solutions to them. So, number one, there must be disciplinary actions not only taken to punish these students, but to teach the students who are continuing a culture of disobeying and disrespecting the authority of our teachers and principals, and disrespecting the education of their fellow classmates, that this behavior is completely and utterly intolerable. They must know that there will be consequences equal to their actions that they perform. Secondly, although our administrative staff is doing the best they can with what they are given, it sends us in the wrong direction when no official title is given to our highest ranking officer of authority in the building, our principal. Although the prefixes acting and interim should elicit the same respect that the title of head principal should, the sad truth of the matter is that it does not. Next, the 7th and 8th graders are in desperate need of their own building, as this plan was an unfortunate but failed experiment. These junior high kids who at one time had their own building, their own activities, and were at the top of their own little food chain, and generally content with their own world, are now seen as second-class citizens in the school. And with this unfortunate new structure, the youngest of the building are often forgotten about, and the only way to gain their attention back is by acting out. This amplifies an already poor situation in our school. So, is it better for the high schoolers if the junior high was removed? Absolutely. We've heard that from day one. It's no news. But that's a given. But the real fact of the matter is that it will change their school experience from an immensely positive one to an immensely positive one for these 7th and 8th grade children who are not having a good school experience right now, as with the rest of us in the school. So, in conclusion here, the students who want to learn and succeed, and the teachers and principals who are here to see that we succeed, need more support from the higher administration here. And we, as proud members of the Woodland Hills School District, are counting on you all to restore positive culture in our school and restore the school year that is being, unfortunately, ripped away from us. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for recounting that. Thank you.
Ms. Glasser, before we go on, I'm sorry, there was something I missed under announcements Ms. Lentz reminded me of. There's a Midnight Madness tournament on Saturday at the high school. And what time does that start again?
6:30.
6:30.
Doors open 6:30. The event is going to start at 7.
And I was remiss not to mention that, so thank you. Please attend if you can. Thanks, Ms. Glasser.
Moving on to presentations, we have Spirit Award presentations from Edgewood.
I have the honor of presenting 2 Spirit Awards. The first one would be from Dorian Freeman, who I did not see. Dorian, did you make it this evening? I'm still going to read his narrative from Mr. Eric Meredith. I would like to nominate Dorian Freeman for my class. He is here every day, and he has wonderful attendance. He works hard every day and is extremely helpful to Mr. Meredith, to the other staff members, and other students in the building. He exemplifies what it means to be a Wolverine. And that was it for Mr. Meredith on that one. And I agree with him completely. The second one is for, Cameron Peretti. And I know she's here. Poor young lady doesn't know why she's here. And is Jill Carastory, are you here this evening? No, she was unable to make it and I wasn't sure. So, Cameron is a hardworking, diligent third grade student at Edgewood that loves academic challenges. She enjoys music, art, reading, and soccer. Is that true? Okay, good. Cameron is consistently enthusiastic, inquisitive, and she always exhibits the 5 Ps at Edgewood. Second and third grade students in the gifted program at Edgewood competed in the 2017 poster contest sponsored by the Paralyzed Veterans of America organization, headquartered in Washington, D.C. The theme this year's contest was the love of country, veterans, and pride, and students were encouraged to creatively depict what the theme means to them. The poster contest was open to all students, public, private, and homeschooled, in grades 1 through 4 throughout the entire United States. And posters were judged based on their expression of theme, artwork style, and creativity. The Paralyzed Veterans of America organization awarded Cameron Peretti, a third grade student at Edgewood Elementary, here in our Woodland Hills School District, the overall grand prize out of all of the posters submitted. Cameron will be receiving a thank you award plaque from the Paralyzed Veterans of America. I'd like to congratulate her, and I know that Jill Carastory would like to congratulate her for her superior effort. Okay.
Yes, anybody up?
Where's little brother?
Come here, Sam.
Come on, buddy.
All right, you ready? Big smile. Very nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I also have a brief presentation to make as well. I'll stand up to do this. Tonight is the final public meeting for 2 long-serving members of the school board, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize their years of service. So I just have a small token of appreciation for Mr. Tomasky and Mr. Kuhn. If you gentlemen will stand up. Each of these gentlemen has given decades of service to the district, and we have a plaque for them recognizing that service. So I'll add to them, add to this my personal thanks for your help and guidance over my couple of years here, and I thank you for the years you've given to the district, both as a graduate and as a community member. I appreciate the work that you've done on behalf of all of the citizens and students. Dr. Kuhn, I need to take a picture, Doctor. Sure. Dr. Kuhn. Look at me, come on. Big smiles.
I'll be over. This whole thing is doing really slow.
Yeah, I was on it.
Well, I'm going to try to click on something. It takes something minutes.
No, mine says I'm not connected.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe we should just get out.
Well, yeah, I know that too.
Okay.
I got out. I came back in after.
Okay.
That's why it's working out.
It goes on almost
So
immediately.
in doubt, restart.
Well, it didn't go. It took slow, but it's the clicks are.
Sorry, group, we're dealing with some network issues up here on the computers. So while we resolve those, we will move on to registered speakers. First on that list is Adam Forgey. Mr. Forgey.
4607 Bowden Street in Turtle Creek. I'm here representing the Woodland Hills Education Association as their president. Good evening. I'm here this evening to address issues that the Education Association has concerning teacher and student safety at the junior and senior high school. Let me first say that we support any effort to build onto the high school. Doing so should help to spread out the student body and provide for a safer environment. My comments today are not to place blame on any one person or group, but to find a solution through your support as a board. We have chosen to make these comments publicly because we want to show that we are willing to do what must be done to solve these problems through transparency. We plan to provide data that is public record and share incidents from eyewitnesses on what is occurring in the hallways, cafeterias, and buses. There is an immediate need to address and correct the inappropriate and dangerous behavior by groups of students who are making poor decisions. Every minute a teacher spends dealing with students who are off task, disruptive, and exhibiting dangerous behavior is a loss in invaluable instructional time that teachers should be using to educate those who want an education. No student has the right to take away the education of another. This is happening more and more. One of the major functions of schools is to prepare our youth on how to become contributing members of society. That is achieved by learning to follow a code of conduct and being held accountable when that conduct is violated. It is the same social contract that we all as adults follow by the rule of law and adhering to it. Both the code of conduct and our system of law were put in place to keep us all safe, guarantee our personal rights, and pursue our dreams. As of late, the code of conduct has been dissolved by a persistent and dangerous group who looked to destroy the learning environment. On Friday, I attended the District Safety Committee meeting for November. At that meeting, the workman's comp data for October was shared to the committee. Unfortunately, the report showed that 19 staff members, administrators, teachers, and paraprofessionals were injured in the month of October at 4 different schools. 10 of those incidents were just at the junior and senior high school alone. There are more injuries that I know of that were not reported. Every employee has the right to go home the way they arrived to work. That goes for any job, anywhere. Some jobs have higher risk due to the nature of that job, but until recently, and not by our choosing, the education profession and teaching has become one of those professions. More and more teachers are being met with injury due to student assaults, fights, horseplay, and lack of self-control. Teachers are also being threatened with physical harm, met with intimidation, blatantly ignoring adult directives, being called racist without provocation, being sworn at with language that is repulsive, downright disgusting, and disrespectful. Teachers are also being filmed or recorded without permission due to the presence of cell phones in our schools. Cell phones are also being used by students to communicate, to meet their friends during class, used to plan, film, and post fights online, being used to make phone calls without permission, and are causing a constant classroom disruption. In 2014, WIA shared a resolution with this board, a resolution that was our stance to keep cell phones out of schools. We are asking that you consider that request again. We all attended school, and we did not have a need for a phone. In fact, they didn't even exist at that time. Cell phones are not needed in school. If a technology is needed, the district should provide it. If a student needs to call home, they need to use a district phone. We are willing to help in this effort, and we'd like to share our ideas with you as a committee. On October 31st, and again yesterday evening, WIA, its leaders, met with the superintendent and assistant superintendent to discuss all the concerns we have concerning member safety. They listened to our concerns. Together, we created a list of over a dozen steps that address the inappropriate behaviors by those students who are making poor decisions and are constant problems. A few of those items were listed as board tabs for this meeting. However, the most important, which involved hiring a permanent principal, was pulled last week. That is very concerning to WIA. That tab would have provided a permanent leader, provided immediate support, and showed the teachers that this board is serious about correcting the environment at the high school. The number one solution to all of this is hiring a permanent principal tonight. That person must be supported and be permitted to make their own decisions in the best interest of the building. Only then will a consistent and clear plan be put in place that every administrator, teacher, support staff, and student will be able to hold the roles accountable. It will also provide for more supports to those students who need them and will reestablish a new learning environment with fresh ideas. We implore you to call a special meeting in the very near future to get this accomplished if it's not done tonight. Once that person is in place, WIA is willing to make their new vision come alive. The staff members at Woodland Hills are one of the most caring, patient, tolerant, encouraging, committed groups of education professionals in this state. I know that not only from working side by side with them, but as a student and a proud alumnus. They molded me into the professional I am today. Teaching and living in my home district makes it all very personal for me each and every day. I am asking that you support those teachers by correcting the problems at the high school before someone is killed. By then, it will be obviously too late. I know this may sound coercive and shocking, but many feel, including myself, that that is the truth. Steps need to be taken now that once again establish a safe learning environment free from controllable distractions, harassing and intimidating behavior, and staff and student injuries. The Woodland Hills education staff is committed in helping in this endeavor. We have told our members to specifically document all incidents that are distracting to the learning environment and dangerous in nature. They are to email those incidents to all of the administrators at the high school so that the administrators are aware of the incidents and the frequencies at which they are occurring. We have asked our members to refrain from touching students involved in violent altercations whenever possible. They are to use reasonable force through their CPI training that exhibits care, welfare, safety, and security. We have asked our members to follow all directives from administration and also to support one another when incidents occur. We have asked our members to come here this evening for you to see that they are serious about correcting these behaviors. We are willing to use restorative justice practices through conflict resolution with our students. We also plan to request parent meetings with students who are constant issues. We also have told our members to press charges and file police reports when appropriate and when they are harassed or assaulted by a student. We believe in building relationships to better understanding of who our students are and to use strategies that de-escalate in difficult situations. We are all gathered here tonight, every single one of us in this room, because we care about children and the future of this district. We implore you to make sound decisions that would create a safer learning environment for every student at the junior and senior high school. Let it be led and supported by an individual who can help us all be successful and do what must be done for the betterment of this district. WIA is here to help you, but we also need your help to safely achieve great things. Thank you for listening and for hearing our concerns, and go Wolverines. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forgy, for being here. I think in addition to the meetings you've had with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, the board is very interested in meeting with you and whatever leadership you designate to discuss the ideas and the plans that you have as well.
Thank you very much. You know, just on a personal note, so I spent the day, I went up to our high school and I sat and watched through most of the lunches, and was in the hallway. It came in at the end of a...
Did you clear that with administration?
Yes, I watched them.
Okay,
yes.
just ask.
What was that?
I just asked you if you cleared it with administration.
Okay, but all right. But I mean, I'm just saying, you know, I think sometimes that we concentrate so much on, you know, we worry about the students there, and sometimes we fail to remember what we're doing is, like, if we have one student that's being bad in the class, we kind of tend to forget the other 24 students who are there trying to get their education. You know, the other students who are there trying to work out, and just like you said, the teachers who are, you know, spend more of their time dealing with those students and the other students who are not getting their education. You know, I agree. We need to do something. We need to figure out a better plan, whatever it is, so that we can educate our students. Yes, we need to work on those students who have a hard time controlling themselves, to work better so they can figure out how to exercise a little bit more self-control, and just so they can do that and end up so when they all leave here, they can have productive lives. But some of the kids today, it's unbelievable. They exercise no self-control. That's all I wanted to say. We need to give everybody a support.
Our next speakers are Merle and Bob Mermelstein, if they're here this evening, to speak.
My wife doesn't give me the chance to speak on our often, so I'm happy to do that tonight. We are Bob and Merle Mermelstein. We've been in the district since 1998. We have 3 kids that have come through the high school, a son who's an architect currently in D.C., a daughter who's at Michigan State University, and a daughter who's a junior in the high school currently. In our 19-plus years in the district, we've seen many principals, some good, some not so good, and some downright awful. We've taken several steps backwards in the last few years under the guidance of our immediate principals. We've taken the high school has been through a lot of turmoil over the past few years. It took years to get to this point, and the fix isn't a light switch to just turn on. The school needs a culture change. Right now, we have uncertainty. The school is in desperate need of sustainable leadership, a permanent principal ready for the challenges that lie ahead. Since Candy Nagy has been named as interim principal, there's been much anticipation of changed culture. There's been excitement over the appointment of a new leader, yet the necessary change cannot occur with the uncertainty of an interim principal. You have a very capable leader in Candy Nagy. She's open and approachable, and Merle and I have had exceptional interactions with her as parents. We've lost enough time. It's time to allow capable leadership to step forward with confidence. We need a transformational leader, and we have that in Candy Nagy. She knows the school, she knows its problems, and yet she's still here, and ready and willing to push forward. The community deserves her leadership now. The teachers deserve her leadership now. But most importantly, the students deserve her leadership now. After recent years of failed direction at the high school, it's time for a positive change. To be honest with you, it's time to finally let a woman lead us forward. My wife. Candy Nagy is ready to lead and has shown her dedication to the district. You'll have plenty of opportunity to evaluate her progress, but let the progress begin under her firm yet compassionate leadership. Please do not delay her ratification as the principal of Woodland Hills High School.
Mrs. Arthrell?
Everybody out there just calls me Yes, my name is Laura Arthrell. I live at 1266 Brenton Road in Braddock Hills, and my husband Roy and I sent 7 children through this district. This is not the first school board that I have spoken to in the over 30 years of living and working in this district, but it's the first one to have taken such an unprecedented inaction in making no decision to appoint a qualified head principal to take charge of the dangerous conditions that exist at our senior high school. You've had several months. You hired a football coach, but not a principal. We are under siege by many out-of-control 12 to 18-year-olds who know that they will most likely get no disciplinary response to bad behavior, or at least will serve a singular reprimand in conjunction with several offenses, in part due to the fact that we are short one principal and will soon lose one more. And yet, I know of only 2 school board members that have actually spent time at our building. How can you make that decision if you have never been here to see it for yourself? And I understand that maybe you can't take time off from work. So I want you to ask you if any of the following happens at your job. Do you or your coworkers, and I'm going to use shortened versions of the words that I hear on a regular basis, but do you call the boss a mother effing bee? Tell him to get out of your face, get out of your privates and mind their own business? Do you defy rules? Do you skip work? Do you refuse to work? Do you show up late on a daily basis? Do you hide your face with a hoodie? Do you verbally attack your superiors? Do you throw things like paper balls and podiums? Do you tear displays off the walls or destroy personal items? Do you refuse to give your name or perhaps give a fake name? Do you say, I don't have to listen to you? Do you start fights with other workers at random times in crowded places, with everyone dropping everything to run and cheer on the combatants, taking videos that will be on the internet in minutes, even though phones are permitted on the job? If you're a parent, do your children regularly tell you to shut the F up, don't talk to me, get out of my face? Do obscene words that start with S, N, B, and F used loudly and frequently pepper every pet fan conversation with you? Do you flatly have your children tell you no to chores or things you do tell them? Do they run all over the house? And when all else fails, do they just scream at the top of your lungs? Have I done enough analogies for you? Because that is what we have on a daily basis. The students just don't listen. We are not preparing them for a future if they just don't learn to listen. What do you expect us to do, and how much longer do you expect us to take it? We had a system that worked with the junior high teams that honed the social skills of the 7th and 8th grade, and a high school that had overcome tough times and taken our school back. And indeed, the dividing line between out of control and cooperative seems to be with the current 9th grade, the first ones to come to the combined junior-senior high school. 4 principals alone cannot be in every hallway, send 10 loitering kids back to class, run back to the office and handle a crisis, complete piles of write-ups, have conferences with kids and more. The result has been chaos. And something has to be done for the sake of the good kids, for Jenna and Vicey and AJ and all those good kids that are doing what they're supposed to do. We need action before something disastrous happens. And without a definitive leader, the principal, teacher, that's why they're called the principal, without that we are weakened, and with your indecision, that puts us in real danger. Without a definitive leader, the only people who have my back are literally the ones behind me in the turquoise shirts. Thank you very much.
Mrs. Myers?
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Lauren Myers. I live at 1420 New York Avenue in Turtle Creek. I am also the administrative assistant at the Woodland Hills Junior-Senior High School. When I started at the high school, dress for success meant that you wore pantyhose every day with your dresses. I have worked for many principals. I have seen many plans for success for the children of Woodland Hills, but I have not worked for anyone other than Miss Nagy that has had the most difficult task of reuniting the high school students, staff, and administrators. I'm speaking to you to attempt to explain and hopefully help you understand the extreme importance of having a principal named in full capacity. The 16-17 school year, our building suffered incredible, difficult year, as I'm sure you're all aware. The absence of our leader last year, Ms. Nagy stepped in, had the building running smooth in no time at all. I have watched Ms. Nagy work with the staff trying to make each of them feel wanted, needed, and more importantly, respected. This was the first year we had a welcome back picnic, again unifying the staff to take a minute, enjoy each other's company, and get ready for a good school year. Each of our children are special in their own way. I've watched Ms. Nagy make sure that any child she is dealing with is aware of just how special they are, and again, wanted, needed, and respected. If for no other reason to show these children how truly important they are, we need you to make a decision, school board, and please name Ms. Nagy as our principal. The junior high school needs to move forward and out of the past, where the district is only known for fighting, deception, and ever-expanding division. It's time for our school to unify. With Ms. Nagy as our principal of Woodland Hills Junior-Senior High School, along with the support of the administrative team, our staff, and of course our students working together, we can once again be known for all that this school district has to offer to our students. After all, we are Woodland Hills. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson? Dexter Johnson? Dexter Johnson, not here? Okay. That concludes registered speakers. Thank you all for those remarks and for being here this evening as well. We appreciate that. Okay, Mr. Johnson, we can move on.
Action in board matters, action item 2.1, permission to adopt as a first and final reading revised policy 210 on use of medications.
Motion by Mr. Tomasic, second by Mr. Kuhn. Any questions? Seeing none.
Voted yay.
Motion carries unanimously.
Go to special education, action item 4.1, approval to ratify contract with AIU 3 for speech and language support services for the 17-18 school year at, I don't have the cost listed on there.
It's on there.
50, I'm sorry, yeah, per student, thank you.
Second. Moved by Mr. Tomasic, second by Mr. Kuhn.
Bang.
Any questions about the contract? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. Ms. Johnson didn't get it.
Yay.
Voted abstain. Sorry.
We listen to him.
Mr. Kuhn doesn't want to vote abstain.
I want to vote yes.
You want, okay, let me fix it because I actually made a mistake on that one too. So remove it.
Ms. Johnson was present, so we'll need to change
Yep, that's
that
why I'm
one as
fixing
well.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see if it saves it this time. Here we go.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously.
Action item 4.2, request approval to ratify contracts with the Plea private licensed facility for the 17-18 school year at a total budget of $284,140.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Mr. Kuhn. Any questions?
So what's it about?
What?
What's it about?
The plea?
Let me show you the contract. What do you do? For $200,000.
It's an approved private school that provides services to children who have disabilities that we can't service at the district level. It does speech and language, occupational therapy, there's mental health services, there's a psychiatrist on staff. That's probably the biggest deal, is that there's a board certified psychiatrist there for med management. I believe they do a lot of work with kids with autism, so they provide services we aren't able to.
Okay, people want to know that. That's good.
It's for 10 students altogether.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's an expensive service.
You know what you're doing. Okay.
Any additional questions?
I'm with the people now.
Okay. Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
People watching TV can't see that.
Okay.
You might need.
Yeah, maybe.
I
Motion carries unanimously.
Action item 4.3, approval to ratify facility staffing agreement with Maximum Staffing Solutions beginning September 22nd, 2017. I believe this is done at a rate, so there's not a total cost. This is to provide supplementary physical therapy services for students in the district.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tomasic, second by Mr. Kuhn. Any questions? Seeing none, call the vote. If it's acting really slow, just turn it off before you start. Motion carries unanimously.
Action item 4.4, approval to ratify contracts with New Story for the 17-18 school year. New Story is an approved private school. We're contracting with them to service 2 students at a total cost of $108,360.
Any questions? Seeing none?
Move the motion.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Moved by Mr. Kuhn, second by Mr. Tomasic. I apologize. Now, any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, just put it.
Okay. Seeing no questions, we do have a motion and a second. Call the vote. Call the vote.
I'm sorry, what was
We can call the vote. The motion is by Mr. Kuhn, second by Mr. Tomasic.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
You want to tell me yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll mark you.
I'm under a lot of pressure.
Julia, I'm a yay.
You're an A? Can't.
Just came up.
We've been having some network issues today, so this is just in keeping with the theme.
Motion carries unanimously.
Action item 4.5, approval for provision of services by Education Incorporated that will provide educational services, to students who are receiving their care at Southwood Hospital during the 17-18 school year. They provide services to Southwood, which is, I believe, a psychiatric hospital, at a rate of $30 per hour for 5 hours a week for students who are admitted there from Woodland Hills.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Tomasic, second by Mr. Kuhn. Any questions?
Cheers.
Seeing none,
Like butter.
call the vote.
I guess.
A couple branches. Section. I know there's one in Franklin. I don't think it's a get through. 4-5.
4-5. Mr. Baumann, did you vote?
I didn't vote. Didn't come up.
He's having problems.
Motion carries unanimously.
So moved to personnel and action item 6.1. Request board approve sections B, C, D, F, and G of the personnel tabs.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Kuhn, second by Ms. Johnson. Any questions? Okay. Seeing none, call the vote.
Yay.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Just a quick comment from me on that. That tab did include the appointment of Ms. Nagy as the acting principal at the high school. I want to make clear that the board supports her in that position and wants her to know that she has the full support of the board to lead the building and move us forward with the programs that we want to see implemented. We have full confidence in Ms. Nagy and trust that she can do that. And we look forward to the work that she's going to do there. She's going to say it. Okay.
This must have been for
Use the
podium, yeah.
I do appreciate this.
Yeah.
It's in and out, sorry.
Okay. I do appreciate the support of the board. I will do what I have set out to do,
moving forward, there are some programming that we've already started to put in place. School-wide positive behavior intervention support will have a secondary module implemented by the spring in the second semester. We do have a leadership team already identified for restorative practices training. We're going to be putting together a student advisory council where students will have a voice, and we will be doing some perceptual data collection through surveys from not only the students, the community, the staff, and parents. So we want to see what they identify as issues within our building as well. So we want to make sure that everybody does have a voice, every stakeholder has a voice before we move forward with too many other big changes, so that we can kind of triage those things. We are looking very hard at the behaviors that we have in the building. We meet very regularly to discuss those and come together with plans. We have mental health services in place and make sure that every student who appears to need those services is referred to those services, and we have made efforts to secure parent signatures through the SAP process. We even sent our social workers to the houses of students to secure those signatures so that we can move forward for services with students under the age of 14, which we find to be a lot of the population in need of those support services. So I do want to assure you that we're going to do everything we can with my leadership, leading the staff, changing the culture of the school, the climate of the school, so that it is a better situation for students to come to the podium and not have the feelings of a climate where they feel that they have to look behind their back every single time they're trying to learn or move through the hallways. So those are some of the things that we're looking to do. I have expressed those to several of you. Definitely looking to have anybody into the building, send me an email, give me a call, and we'd be happy to have you come through and take a look at what we've got going on as we move forward. We did just secure another big furniture donation. It seems to be my thing. So we're upgrading some of the furniture that we have in the building again. Even Mr. Johnson was jealous of our conference table that we secured today. So we want to, I think that even that helps change the climate for students. It wasn't mentioned by the kids in their presentation today, but last week we did have a presentation from the Recognizing Talent, Reaching New Dreams, Recognizing Talent young men who did a presentation on Be More for every single grade level, juniors and seniors, sophomores and freshmen, and the 7th and 8th graders. The 7th and 8th graders did make me a little hesitant. Thought maybe I should have paired up the 7th graders with the seniors for the presentation, but I thought, you know what, I'd already communicated that to my staff, so we went forward. And in my opinion, having been somebody with 25 years of experience with kids, 19 years in the classroom, teaching predominantly middle school, they were very well behaved and they were very engaged. And now I use that as a springboard in my conversations with students. Weren't you listening to the young men that had the conversation with us the other day? And they're like, yes, ma'am. What was the message that they had? And they tell you they were listening. They listened to every word those guys said, and they're more than willing to stay engaged with our students. So we want to be able to bring them back as well. We also have. I asked a student, how many assemblies have we had last year, the year before? And they said we hadn't had any. And I said, we want to change that. We want to change that, and we are changing that. We are not just having one PEP assembly for fall sports this year, we're having 3 PEP assemblies. And we're looking for ways to I've got an 8th grade team that works very closely together, not only in face-to-face meetings, but they have asynchronously set up communications where they're able to communicate the needs within each of their classrooms, identify, red flags that they've seen with a student earlier in the day that somebody later in the day might be able to be aware of what's causing that, and they're making SAP referrals and referring students for counseling as well. So, and that's just them getting together on their own. I've empowered them to do those things. They'll come up like, what do you think of this? It looks great. Do it. So I can't count on 10 fingers how many times I've told a teacher who's come up to me with a new exciting idea to move forward with it because it's good for kids. So that's kind of the leadership that I provide. I think there's not a teacher here that would tell you otherwise. So without getting upset and emotional, which I tend to do, at the end of any kind of talk like this. I do thank you very much.
That you need from the board. Let's keep the communication open. Let us know through administration what it is that you need so that we can support your efforts there.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I would have emailed today, but the email was down.
Action item 6.2, recommendation of the administration to approve the appointment of Mr. Timothy Bostard as head football coach at the Woodland Hills Junior Senior High School at a salary of $12,000 effective July 1st, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Tomasic, second by Mr. Kuhn.
Would like to make a motion to amend.
Okay.
Would like to include the language that it will be for 3 years.
Okay. Is that an amendment that is amenable to?
As it was worded now, what was?
It would only be a year.
The 1 year term.
Oh, I agree. I think for stability and everything else like that, I agree. He should have the luxury of knowing that his job is going like this. You know?
I don't want to mess up the amendment. I just want to talk about Mr. Bosser. Can I do that?
I'm sorry?
I don't, I want to talk about Mr. Bosser.
Well, do we need
Let's make sure first that we have. Yeah, are you amenable to the amendment? Okay. Mr. Kuhn, you're okay with the amendment?
Yes.
Okay, that'll be a friendly amendment then. So we're considering the tab as amended. Any comments?
Yes. I would like to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Mr. Bosser. In my years on the board, one thing that was real important to me as a member of the board and a member of Woodland Hills School District is loyalty. I don't think you'll find anyone in the district that has been more loyal to Woodland Hills than Mr. Bosser. To me, that means a lot. He's from the community. He works. There's no one works any harder for these young men than Timmy. And there's been many a roadblock this year for Timmy, as we all know. Yet he still we come out pretty darn good. Him and his staff, I'd like to commend them on an excellent job. And I was able to see most of the games, and I commend Timmy and his leadership. And I think that shows. There's no one that deserves it more than Mr. Bosser. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'd just like to say, I appreciate everything Timmy has done for all the football players there and everything. As my son who plays football, as well as I was there for a lot of practices, just being there and watching his dealings and working with all those young men and all the trials and tribulations they had this year. And I think they had a fantastic year, everything being considered, and I think moving forward, we're only going to get better. So it was a job very well done with Tim and his coaching staff. They did an excellent job this year.
Amy, can I say something?
Of course.
I'd like to share a story that I think speaks to Tim's character. Following a game, an athlete on the opposing team had gotten injured. The following week, Tim called to check on that student to see how he was doing. So the feedback we got from the opposing coach and AD was that doesn't happen. So, Tim, I'd like to recognize that too. We all would.
I got a comment.
Okay.
I've worked with Tim for, how long, Tim? Forever, right? And I actually have two brothers who are on the staff, and they did an excellent job this year, especially under the circumstances in which they that it came about. Unfortunately, though, the board just put me in a tough situation to do something unprecedented by changing the amendment to a 3-year coaching position. And that was never discussed before. And I feel like now, as much as I want Timmy to have the job. I can't do it with the amendment like that. And I don't understand why that wasn't discussed. We just had an executive meeting. We could have discussed the fact that somebody wanted to change the terms, and we could have said yes, no, or whatever. And I just feel like that's that's not being transparent, even with the board members themselves, to throw an amendment up in the middle of a vote on something that it's kind of a no-brainer vote. But to throw an amendment up there like that, it just makes it difficult. And Timmy, I support you.
That's right.
So I vote to take the amendment off.
Let's vote.
So we'll vote on the amendment
Yeah,
first.
the first is to change it from, I guess, 1 year to 3 years.
Okay.
So and then how that vote goes, then that'll change the main motion.
Okay. So we'll call the roll on the amendment first.
Just for the amendment, from 1 to 3 years.
Yes.
This will be a roll call vote, right?
This will be a roll call vote.
Voice
Yep.
vote.
We'll call
Voice
the
vote.
roll.
Mr. Graves?
No.
Ms. Seligson?
Yes.
Mr. Hanchett?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Dr. Hildebrand?
Yes.
Mr. Tomasic?
Yes.
Mr. Belmont?
Yes.
Ms. Glasser?
Yes. Okay. So now we'll vote on the motion as amended. If you want to call the question. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Coach.
We don't need to talk.
No, we can talk. I was just going to say it back there on the mountain. I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity to continue the tradition that we already have here at Woodland Hills. If anybody needs anything, please feel free to contact me. Look forward to hitting the ground rolling here in December, starting weightlifting December 4th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Technology action item 7.1, request permission and authorization to enter into a multi-year contract with Power School as our new student information system of record.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Belmont, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions?
Yeah, what's the cost? What you're going to do?
It's ready.
I know.
It's on total contract amounts written right here at the bottom. 99.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear him.
Yeah, but people watching TV don't know that. They look at it.
The total contract amount is $99,955.62. I don't know. I know we aren't paying anything until the system goes live, so that wouldn't be until June 2018. Other than we're paying for training. The yearly costs are in the proposal. Steve, if you can hear this, can you come out and address that question? Where's Jim here? Do you have the data, Jim? I didn't know if he had the data. So Jim, can you speak to that? I knew Steve would.
Wrong. Yeah, I attached a spreadsheet that shows the total cost over 5 years. And, excuse me, I got the old one. If we stuck with ProSoft and use the current software, the third-party add-ons, over a 5-year period, we would be spending $703,000. If we use the new Power School and use the third-party add-ons, we would only be spending $581,000. So that's a savings of $121,000. And by using Power School, we are eliminating 2 of the programs that we normally pay for. We're going to be eliminating the IEP Writer program, and we'll also be eliminating the On-Hand Schools program.
We talked to 7 vendors, and this was ongoing for over the last 6 months. Okay.
Because I know whatever happened to Susquehanna, we never talked to them again.
We spoke thoroughly with them.
They can't make the whole package together.
They had similar software and everything, but as we examined it a lot closer, we found that Power School was definitely the best fit for the district.
First off, you have the whole package together with that entity. You got 200 some school districts use it, and we never do use it. That's my question.
Well, sir, it was. I mean, Steve really. There was a whole team of teachers, administrators, and people that looked at it, and they examined, as Steve said, 7 different platforms. Everything was looked at, and while the CSIU package isn't bad, it just didn't have some of the capabilities and features that Power School had, and that's what caused us. I really wasn't involved in it. Jim and Steve and their people were. So, did Jim? Do you want to say something to this?
Just to reaffirm what Steve said, we saw formal presentations from seven different vendors. We received quotes from all of those vendors, multiple quotes actually, because we negotiated prices, with several vendors. We took surveys, we brought in staff. We probably had, I think I've had more meetings on this than I've had under any single issue at my time in the district. And as we narrowed down our choices, we actually went almost all the way with 2 vendors. Down to implementation discussions, to really narrow that down, getting multiple quotes along the way. And I think Steve, really pushed hard to get those prices as low as he could. And I will say with this, it's not just that we're saving $125,000 over 5 years. We're getting so much more than we have right now along with that cost savings. We're getting better integration with our IEPs. We're getting a digitized version of our 504 program. We're eliminating a lot of paperwork that's now going to be digitized. We're going to improve teacher access to data. You're going to have better parent portals, better parent communication, better data for our athletics, better data for everybody. I just spent about 2 hours this afternoon just trying to get some basic discipline data myself out of our current system, so I'm very excited. We're going to improve the report card. This is going to have monumental benefits for the district, just on top of the cost savings.
Vote fast on something, and I'll vote for it. I'm getting rid of the process. Yeah. You never hear so many years you paid so much money to them, we could have had half the price with that added. I'm glad you're finally making a break for them. Yeah. Right? That's no problem.
I mean, Bob, I think Jim and Steve really went over and above to really try to find something that's
I'm glad
really
you
good
finally
for
getting somebody else's chance instead of everything went to process. All the years we double. They charge us double what other people want to charge us.
Right.
I'm glad you're making a change.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the vote.
Losing our quorum here slowly. And our audience.
I'm out.
Miss Johnson's not coming up. Julie's there.
Oh.
Mine came up.
Oh, there it goes.
It just likes you better.
Actually, after Mike rebooted me, it's been running smoothly here.
Motion passes 7 with 2 absent.
That'll move us to.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. This will be great. We have that purchase order ready to go and
First thing.
ship it out in the morning. Thank you.
It was ready to go yesterday, right, Steve?
Yep. It's been ready to go for a while. Food service and transportation, action item 9.1. Request approval to purchase a Globe meat slicer for the high school cafeteria. Cost of $5,572 from the Capital Reserve Fund.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Tomasic, second by Mrs. Seligson. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the vote.
Two more right away.
Motion carries with one absent at the time of the vote.
How did Fred vote on it? He was
Great question.
Isn't there more than one?
No, he's.
Mr. Kuhn left the meeting.
Oh, it's only showing 8. I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Kuhn
Okay, I
left,
see
so-
now. All right. Action item 9.2, request approval of the MOU with Pittsburgh Public Schools and the Allegheny County Department of Human Services for development of plans for a shared transportation project, pilot project. And Mr. Vogel has worked on this extensively.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Belmont, second by Mrs. Johnson.
If I could just add one thing, it's not only for shared transportation services, but it's also a project involving Carnegie Mellon Alliance for Children to, it's improving the school experience, which primarily revolves around transportation. So
that's the next one, sir.
And so that's just, it's going to be, it's not more than sharing bus routes. It's going to be trying to do things to improve the experience, and it will be involving the university, students from the university, talking to parents, volunteering, students volunteering, get their input and feedback on how to improve things. So
that's the next one. That's 9.3 is the one you're talking about. We're voting on 9.2.
Oh, I'm sorry, 9.2.
9.2
is an element of that.
Yeah,
where it would be
they go together.
Yeah,
they go together. They all do work together. No, that's right. They are together. So
yeah, in a way.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah. So, what's the timeline for implementation, or how long is this study? How long is this?
I think they intend to have their study completed by year's end. They plan to move
this. Okay.
Yeah. Plan on move on it, but.
And if there's any shared services, the hope would be that we could pilot that in the second semester.
Okay. Okay. I didn't appreciate the time.
It will not be, if it happens, it won't be a large pilot. We're talking maybe 2 schools. And it's really more proof of concept than anything else.
I do believe that they would intend to, any type of research, so to speak, would be done by the end of the school year or no later than a year from now. So.
Okay. Great.
Any further discussion? Okay.
Study transportation shared service.
Okay. Motion carries unanimously.
Action item 9.3, request that the board approve the draft memorandum of understanding between the district and the Carnegie Mellon University for research on student transportation issues.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Belmont, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any discussion?
I'll make a comment, Jamie.
Sure.
A week ago Friday, I sat in with Siobhan. She's our transportation director, and Ted Vassar. He just retired from Pittsburgh Public as their transportation director for 34 years. Ted and I have been friends forever, and I talked to him. I said, can you come over and help us troubleshoot a little bit? And he and Siobhan had talked on the phone a couple times. And we sat there for 2.5 hours. It was nonstop. And the major takeaway I had was this problem is dire. It's not relevant just to Woodland Hills. Other districts around us are having these issues too. As we know, there's a school bus driver shortage. And what we're doing on these last 2 motions, we're trying to find solutions. In other words, rather than Woodland Hills finding it within itself, Woodland Hills, McKeesport, the city of Pittsburgh schools, how can we work together? You have a school bus half empty going into Pittsburgh to a charter school, and you got a bus half empty coming out to charter school out here. It's just, it's insane is the operative word. But Siobhan is going to report to all of us at committee. She took copious notes, and we'll touch on some of the other things. But at least these two motions are steps in the right direction. They're not an immediate fix, but there is hope.
Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Buildings and Grounds, section action item 10.1, request approval to purchase additional cafeteria tables from PEMCO for the Academy from Capital Reserve Fund 32 at a total cost of $3,600.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Tomasic, second by Dr. Hildebrand. Any questions? Seeing none, call the vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Action item 10.2, permission to ratify change order number 1 from Field Turf in the amount of $7,500 with funding from Capital Projects, Fund 39. So the change the color of the turf at the Wolverina.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Hildebrand, second by Mr. Hanchett. Any questions? Seeing none, call the question. Motion carries 7-1. Then vote in the negative by Mr. Tomasic.